Today we are going to learn how to play the major scales with 4 and fewer sharps on the piano. Just as we learned how to construct and write major scales with 4 and fewer sharps first, we are also going to begin learning those first on the piano. Those 5 scales, that's C major, right, G major, D major, A major, and E major, share the same fingering. So they are sometimes called the group 1 major scales. You notice before we start that I have set up my camera and I put 2 pencils here on either side. And these are an octave and a half above and below middle C. And that's because when we play the G major scale, we will need to start above middle C and go up 1 octave to that G. So I want to be sure that that note is visible in the video. Now that I've done that, I can take these away. The fingerings of these scales, as I mentioned, are the same. And these scales use fingers 1 and 3 as pivot fingers. That is, we can't play a scale and use up all our fingers because then we don't have any fingers left to continue the octave unless we picked up our hand and continued. That doesn't make for a very smooth, right, or even scale. So we need to find a way. And you may have watched the other videos that talk about tucking your thumb under. And that we need to do. But for these scales, it's important to remember that your pivot fingers are 1 and 3, and they just go like this. Okay? In either direction. It's always those 2 fingers around each other, like that. So let's start with the C major scale with the right hand. So put finger number 1, that is your thumb, on middle C, and your other fingers on the white keys right above it. And we are going to start with 1, 2, 3. And now you're on the 3rd finger, that's your pivot finger. So you're going to slightly rotate like this, and then your thumb goes right underneath. And then come back around. Let's try that again. Pivot slightly, thumb underneath. Be careful that you don't do this. You want to keep your hand as flat as possible. Rotate slightly so your thumb goes underneath to the F, and then your hand comes back into the straight position. On the way down, play the C again. It's exactly the way you went up, but going backwards. So use up all your fingers, and now the thumb stays down and the 3rd finger comes over. So you're going to turn a little bit like this. 3rd finger reaches over to the E. Bring your hand back. Right, so you notice in both cases, the 3rd finger played the E, and the 1st finger, or the thumb, played the F. Exactly the same thing coming down, but this time we pivot to the left and back. Okay. The left hand does the exact same thing, except it's a mirror image. It starts on 5 on the way up, and on the way back down, then it starts, of course, on 1. it's the same two fingers. So we start on 5. Once you get to 1, again, rotate slightly, and the third finger comes over the first finger, or the thumb, we can also call it. And now rotate back until you get to C. Remember, we rotated on 3. So we're back on 3. Pivot slightly, tuck your thumb under, come back around. So the only two fingers that are your pivot fingers are 1 and 3. Let's try that again. And around, bring your hand back. Let's bring it down. Get to 3, turn that way, tuck your thumb under, and back. Once you're comfortable with playing hands separately, you can get used to the feel of playing two hands at the same time. One way that we can do that easily is to play from middle C with both hands. And then your fingers will be doing the same thing, right? Because the fingerings are a mirror image of each other. 1, and then cross over, and then end up on middle C. We call playing this way playing in contrary motion, because your hands are going in opposite directions. But it's a good way to get used to this feeling of crossing under or reaching over. And this sounds like this. See? Now both hands are going to go like that. Your thumbs go under, bring them around. Coming back to middle C. Inward to the third finger. This is a very comfortable way to practice it, since both hands are changing at the same time. Once you're confident with that, then you can go ahead, if you like, and try them. This one rotates. Now it's time for the left hand. Left hand. Right hand. Playing both hands together is not mandatory for this class, but you will get extra credit if you can do it. Let's go on to the next Group 1 major scale, which is the scale that has 1 sharp, which, as you know, is G major. So for G major, we're going to move up to the G right above middle C. And it's the same fingering, so you go to 3, rotate to the next note, and bring your thumb under. There's 1 sharp, F sharp, back down, again to the thumb, and cross over with the third finger, bring your hand back. Let's try that again. 3, sharp. So you notice there will always be a sharp right before the last note. That's your leading tone, right? Scale degree 7. If you remember scale degree 7, or the leading tone is always a half step. So you can see here that indeed it's just one semitone, right? Except for C major, which uses all white keys, and those two white keys form a half step since there's no black key in the middle. After that, every scale is going to have a black key on the second to the last note. Round. F sharp, G. Back down, G, F sharp, E, D, C. Rotate so that your thumb is under there and your third finger is above the B. Come around, A, G. Left hand is one octave lower, below middle C. And then the same fingering. We go to the first finger, and now you're going to rotate a little bit, bring your third finger to the E, come around, F sharp, G, back down, G, F sharp, E, and again, turn, thumb under, turn back. We can play them together. Right hand goes like that. Left hand. Leading tone. Back down. Left. Right. Again, playing them together is not required, but will earn you extra credit. So why not give it a try? Two sharps, again, if we go from G up to the dominant, we end up on D. D major has two sharps. So remember also that after G major, or starting with G major, after C major, in fact, every key with sharps has an F sharp. So D major is also going to have an F sharp. Same fingering though, from 3 to 1. And the C sharp right before the tonic. Get to 1, always cross to 3, back down. Right? 1 always crosses with 3, and 3 always crosses with 1, depending on which way you're going. If you're ascending, you're going to go this way. If you're descending, you're going that way. Right? And same thing here. You're either going to go this way, or you're going to go that way. That way or that way. So here, once again, is the right hand. 3, first finger crosses under. C sharp, D, D, C sharp, B, A, G. Again, turn slightly, cross over, straighten out, back to D. Left hand. Okay, we're going to be 1 octave lower, the D right below middle C. Go up to the first finger. Now you're going to turn and third finger on the next note, back. C sharp leading tone to the D. Back down, just where you crossed over on the way up, you're going to cross under on the way down. Let's try this one faster. And together. Play the top note again. That's D major, 2 sharps. So if we continue up for 5 notes, the dominant of D is A. A major has 3 sharps. So we keep the C sharp and the F sharp. And we're starting on the A above middle C. We could call that A4. So don't forget to play the C sharp. And again, third finger is your pivot finger. Rotate, put your thumb on the D. Keep the F sharp, and the new sharp is the leading tone, 7th degree, right before the A. And again, it's very clear. When you look at the keyboard, you can see how that is just one semitone there. And we do the same thing on the way back. Rotate over to the 3, come back. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A. Left hand is 1 octave lower, again right below middle C. Same fingering as before, except now there are 3 sharps. C sharp, we get to the thumb, or finger number 1, F sharp. This is a little bit of a larger distance. So make sure that you reach a little further and then come around. G sharp, A, G sharp, F sharp, all the way to the E, back, D, C sharp, B, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Let's try both hands together. Right hand. Left hand to the F sharp, G sharp, A. Bring it back down, A, G sharp, F sharp. Now to the third finger and the right hand. We have one more in the group 1 major scales. 4 sharps is E major, and the 4th sharp will be D major because it's the leading tone, right there above the E. Remember when you wrote your key signatures, you always wrote a sharp on the note right before the tonic. So we start on E again, above middle C, that's middle C. So we have whole step. Very easy to see, right? Whole step, whole, half, whole, whole, half. So E, F sharp, G sharp. Here we are on the third finger, so it's time to bring the thumb, the first finger, around, and leading tone D sharp, E. Bring it back down. On the A is where we pivot to back to 1. Don't go there. Go to the G sharp. If you do play a wrong note, you should hear that it doesn't sound like a major scale. Whole, whole, half. Left hand. To the thumb. And once again, cross to the third finger. It's a whole step. And D sharp, E. Before it goes to 1, make sure you go to the B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Cross, straighten. Back to the C sharp. Cross, straighten. Both hands together. It's the left hand's turn. Left hand. Now it's the right hand's turn. And those are the first 5 scales with sharps, or the group 1 major scales. So practice all of them. You should be able to play them very well. And I do encourage you to try to play hands together. Remember, you can start with the C major scale playing in contrary motion to just get used to this feeling of pivoting around one of those fingers. Right? Either like that or like that. That motion. And then try them in what we call parallel motion. Happy practicing.